What if the person you think is ignoring you is actually overwhelmed by the number of steps you just gave them? What if your child who cannot sit still is not trying to be disruptive, but is living inside a body that feels like it has electricity running through it? What if you saw inside their brain and it is the busiest freeway with so many cars, lots of on-ramps and off-ramps, a traffic jam, and add in a few accidents, total chaos? If you understand it that way, you will understand the need for structure boundaries, routines, and predictability, which helps the neurodivergent brain thrive. What if your spouse who walks past the laundry, the dishes, the backpack, the dog leash, or the full vacuum is not intentionally refusing to help, but their brain did not register the object as an action item? And what if the person you love is not starting the morning from the same neurological starting line that you are? If you are neurotypical, this episode is going to ask you to do something important. I want you to step inside the neurodivergent brain for a few minutes. I want you to imagine what it feels like to wake up already underactivated, underorganized, and internally behind. I want you to understand how difficult it can be to sit still, how exhausting it can be to transition, how nearly impossible sequencing can feel, and why a request that sounds small to you may feel like a mountain of invisible steps to them. Because when we understand what is happening inside the brain, we stop taking every behavior personally. We stop labeling everything as laziness, being disrespectful, or defiance. And we start building systems that help the person we love succeed. Welcome back to the Path to Peace Therapy podcast. I'm Stephanie Buckley. I'm a parenting strategist, ADHD specialist, and family systems coach. I help parents, partners, and families understand the patterns beneath behavior so they can move from chaos to clarity, from shame to structure, and from constant conflict to calmer, more connected family systems. In today's episode, we are looking at neurodivergence from the inside out. In the last episode, we talked about what it feels like to be the neurotypical parent or partner carrying the invisible mental load. We talked about waking up early, seeing the whole sequence of the morning, accomplishing 10 things before anyone else gets up, and then feeling defeated when a simple request is met with pushback. But today, we are going to stand on the other side of the room. We are going to talk about what may be happening inside your neurodivergent child, spouse, partner, or loved one's brain. We are going to talk about ADHD, dopamine, executive dysfunction, working memory, sequencing, task initiation, emotional dysregulation, sensory overload, time blindness, hyperfocus, rejection sensitivity, and why breaking things down into small, manageable requests can change the entire emotional climate of the home. And let me be clear from the beginning. Understanding is not the same as excusing. We are not saying they have ADHD, so they do not have to participate. We are not saying they are neurodivergent, so everyone else has to absorb the chaos. We are saying that if we want responsibility, cooperation, and independence, we have to understand the brain we are asking to cooperate. Because you cannot shame a nervous system into regulation. You cannot yell an ADHD brain into better sequencing. You cannot criticize someone into executive functioning. But you can build structure. You can create cues. You can lower friction. You can use the environment. You can make the invisible steps visible. And when you do that, you give the neurodivergent person a much better chance of succeeding. Neurodivergent means that a person's brain processes, organizes, regulates, learns, or responds differently from what is considered typical. ADHD is one form of neurodivergence. Autism, dyslexia, sensory processing differences, OCD traits, learning differences, and other brain-based differences may also fall under the broader umbrella of neurodivergence. But neurodivergent does not mean broken. It does not mean bad. It does not mean lazy. It does not mean incapable. It means different wiring. A neurodivergent brain may be creative, intuitive, intense, emotionally perceptive, wildly funny, brilliant under pressure, deeply passionate, and capable of noticing patterns other people miss. That same brain may also struggle with routine, time, transitions, emotional regulation, sitting still, remembering steps, starting boring tasks, and finishing what it started. That is the part many neurotypical parents and partners struggle to hold at the same time. They see the strengths, they see the intelligence, they see the humor, they see the talent, they see the moments of brilliance. And then they cannot understand why the same person cannot brush their teeth, pack their backpack, put the laundry in the dryer, remember the keys, or leave the house on time. This is where we have to stop using intelligence as proof that something should be easy. A child can be incredibly bright and still have executive dysfunction. A spouse can be successful at work and still struggle with home responsibilities. A teen can understand exactly what you said and still forget the steps 2 minutes later. Intelligence and executive functioning are not the same thing. That distinction matters. Executive function is the brain's management system. It includes planning, organizing, initiating tasks, remembering steps, managing time, shifting attention, regulating emotions, and following through. Executive dysfunction means those skills are inconsistent, delayed, or difficult to access. From the outside, executive dysfunction can look like laziness. It can look like avoidance. It can look like not caring. It can look like procrastination. It can look like irresponsibility. From the inside, it can feel like being trapped behind glass. The person can see the task. They may even know the task matters. But the internal start button does not activate. It is like the brain knows the car needs to move, but the ignition will not turn over. So while the neurotypical person is thinking, just do it, the neurodivergent person may be thinking, I know I need to do it, but I cannot make myself start. That gap between knowing and doing is one of the most misunderstood parts of ADHD. A child may know they need to put on shoes, but still wander into another room. A spouse may know the trash needs to go out, but still walk past it. A teen may know the assignment is due, but still sit frozen in front of the laptop. A young adult may know they need to make the phone call, pay the bill, return the email, or schedule the appointment. But the task feels strangely impossible to begin. This is not because they lack intelligence. It is because initiation, sequencing, and follow-through require executive functioning. And for many neurodivergent people, executive functioning is not reliably available just because the task is obvious. That is why the solution cannot only be, try harder. Many neurodivergent people have been trying harder their whole lives. What they often need is try differently. They need systems, cues, scaffolding, movement, body doubling, visual supports, timers, checklists, and tasks broken down into steps that the brain can actually enter. Now let's talk about dopamine, because this is one of the biggest missing pieces in how neurotypical families understand ADHD. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which means it is a chemical messenger in the brain. It plays a major role in motivation, reward, attention, learning, movement, and the feeling that effort is worth it. Dopamine helps the brain move toward a goal. It helps the brain say, this matters. Start here. Keep going. That felt good. Do the next thing. In ADHD, dopamine regulation is often different. Many people with ADHD are not simply choosing stimulation because they are spoiled or undisciplined. Their brain is often seeking stimulation because stimulation helps them feel awake, engaged, organized, or emotionally alive. So when I say a neurodivergent child or spouse may be starting at a dopamine deficit, I mean their internal motivation system may not be naturally activated by routine, low-reward tasks. Brushing teeth does not feel rewarding. Making the bed does not feel rewarding. Packing a backpack does not feel rewarding. Taking out trash does not feel rewarding. Emptying the dishwasher does not feel rewarding. Walking the dog may feel like too many steps unless it becomes tied to movement, rhythm, novelty, or a clear cue. Now compare that to the neurotypical parent who wakes up and starts moving. You clean the kitchen, you make lunches, you feed the dogs, you start laundry, you prep dinner. Each completed task gives you a little feeling of progress. That progress gives you momentum. Momentum gives you regulation. Regulation helps you keep going. But your neurodivergent loved one may wake up without that same internal momentum. Their brain may feel foggy, heavy, restless, scattered, or understimulated. So when you say, "Can you please get your shoes on?" or "Can you please help with the backpacks?" they are not only responding to the task, they are responding from a brain that may not have enough internal activation yet to begin the task gracefully. This is why movement can help. Movement gives the brain stimulation in a healthier way. Jumping, running, walking, carrying something heavy, doing wall pushes, using a small trampoline, or racing to the backyard wall can help wake up the nervous system. For some neurodivergent children, movement before demands is not extra, it is preparation. For many neurotypical people, sitting still is neutral. Maybe it is boring, but it is not unbearable. For some neurodivergent children and adults, sitting still can feel like being trapped inside their own body. The body wants to move, the legs bounce, the fingers tap, the chair feels uncomfortable, the room feels too loud, the clothing tag feels irritating, the fluorescent lights feel too bright, the teacher's voice becomes background noise, the brain starts searching for stimulation, the child touches something, rocks back in the chair, hums, gets up, talks, interrupts, doodles, fidgets, or argues. From the outside, adults may say, "Stop moving, sit still, pay attention." But from the inside, movement may be the thing helping them pay attention. This is called self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to manage attention, emotion, energy, and behavior in response to internal and external demands. Neurodivergent people often use movement as a form of regulation. The movement is not always random. It may be the body's way of trying to organize itself. This is why asking a child with ADHD to just sit still may not be realistic without giving them another regulation tool. A fidget, a wobble cushion, a standing option, movement breaks, chair push-ups, wall pushes, or a quick errand can help the body discharge energy so the brain can return to the task. Imagine having an itch under your skin that no one else can see. Then imagine everyone keeps telling you, "Stop scratching." That is what sitting still can feel like for some neurodivergent kids. It is not always defiance. Sometimes it is discomfort with nowhere to go. Sequencing is the ability to put steps in the correct order. It sounds simple until you understand how much the brain has to do to sequence even an ordinary task. Take get ready for school. To a neurotypical brain, that may feel like one routine. To a neurodivergent brain, it may be 20 separate tasks hiding inside one phrase. Wake up. Get out of bed. Decide what to wear. Find the shirt. Find the pants. Notice the pants are dirty. Pick another pair. Put on socks. Realize one sock is missing. Get distracted looking for socks. Remember teeth. Go to the bathroom. See something on the counter. Touch it. Forget why you came in. Parent calls from the hallway. Feel rushed. Brush teeth halfway. Forget deodorant. Look for backpack. Backpack is not where it belongs. Feel panic. Blame someone. Find backpack. Forget water bottle. Put on shoes. One shoe is missing. Parent is now angry. Nervous system escalates. Now the child is not just disorganized. The child is dysregulated. That is sequencing. It is not one task. It is a chain of micro-tasks. And if one link breaks, the whole sequence can collapse. This is why vague requests often fail. Get ready is too vague. Clean your room is too vague. Help around the house is too vague. Be responsible is too vague. A neurodivergent brain may need the request broken into visible, concrete steps. Instead of get ready, try first brush teeth, then get dressed, then backpack by the door. M, instead of clean your room, try put dirty clothes in the hamper, put dishes in the kitchen, put trash in the trash bag, put shoes in the closet. Instead of help with dinner, try set 4 plates on the table, put forks next to each plate, fill 4 water cups. Instead of pack for practice, use a checklist, cleats, socks, shin guards, uniform, water bottle, snack. This is not babying. This is translating. You are translating the task into a language the executive functioning system can use. Working memory is the brain's ability to hold information in mind long enough to use it. It is like a mental sticky note. For many neurodivergent people, that sticky note falls off quickly. You may say, go upstairs, brush your teeth, grab your shoes, and bring down your backpack. They may hear you. They may intend to do it. They may even say, okay. Then they walk upstairs, see a hoodie on the floor, remember something about yesterday, hear a sibling, notice their phone, and the instruction disappears. The parent thinks, you ignored me. The child thinks, I forgot. The parent thinks, how could you forget? I just told you. The child thinks, I do not know. I just did. This is why repeated verbal instructions can create shame. The child is constantly being corrected for a brain function that is inconsistent. The spouse is constantly being reminded of what they forgot. The parent becomes frustrated. The neurodivergent person becomes defensive. The pattern repeats. A visual checklist helps because it does not rely on working memory. A written instruction next to the washer helps because the person does not have to remember the laundry steps. An AirTag on the keys helps because the person does not have to mentally reconstruct where the keys went. A calendar reminder helps because the brain does not have to hold time internally. This is called cognitive offloading. Cognitive offloading means using tools outside the brain to reduce the demand on memory, organization, and planning. It is not weakness, it is strategy. For a neurodivergent brain, external supports are not cheating. They are ramps, and we do not shame people for using ramps when the stairs were not built for them. Emotional dysregulation means the nervous system has difficulty returning to a calm, organized state once activated. For many people with ADHD, emotions can come on quickly and intensely. Frustration can become anger. Embarrassment can become shutdown. A small correction can feel like rejection. A simple request can feel like criticism. A transition can feel like threat. This is why a child may scream over socks. This is why a spouse may snap when asked to take out the trash. This is why a teen may melt down when told to turn off the game. From the outside, the reaction looks too big for the situation. From the inside, the nervous system is flooded. Flooding means the brain and body are overwhelmed by stress activation. When someone is flooded, the thinking brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, becomes less available. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain involved in planning, judgment, impulse control, problem solving, and emotional regulation. When the nervous system is calm, the prefrontal cortex can lead. When the nervous system is flooded, the emotional brain takes over. This is why logic often does not work in the middle of a meltdown. You cannot lecture a flooded brain into calm. You cannot reason with a nervous system that is in fight, flight, freeze, or shutdown. You have to regulate first, then problem solve. For parents and partners, this is hard because the behavior may look disrespectful, and sometimes boundaries still need to be held. But if you want the person to learn, you must wait until the brain is available for learning. A regulated script might sound like, I can see this feels hard. I am not going to argue with you while your body is this upset. We are going to take one step first. Shoes on, then we talk. That is not permissive. That is strategic. Many people with ADHD experience what is often described as rejection sensitivity. Rejection sensitivity means the person has an intense emotional reaction to perceived criticism, disapproval, disappointment, or rejection. This does not mean the parent or spouse is doing something wrong every time they ask for help. It means the neurodivergent person may have a long history of feeling corrected, criticized, misunderstood, or not good enough. Imagine hearing for years, "Hurry up, stop forgetting, pay attention, why did you do that? How many times do I have to tell you? You are smart enough to know better." Over time, those messages can become internalized. Internalization means repeated external messages become part of the person's self-concept. The child begins to think, "I am always the problem." The spouse begins to think, "I can never do enough." The teen begins to think, "Everyone is disappointed in me." So when you say, "Can you grab your backpack?" they may not only hear the request, they may hear history. They may hear, "You forgot again." They may hear, "You are failing again." They may hear, "You are not enough." That does not mean you should stop making requests. It means tone, timing, and systems matter. If every responsibility has to come through your voice may start to sound like pressure, even when you are trying to be kind. This is why checklists, calendars, bins, labels, and visual cues are so powerful. They remove the parent or partner from the immediate line of fire. The system gives the instruction. The person can respond to the system instead of reacting to the emotional weight of another reminder. Time blindness is a common ADHD-related difficulty where the person struggles to accurately sense time passing, estimate how long tasks will take, or feel future consequences as real in the present moment. When you say, "We need to leave in 10 minutes, a neurotypical brain may feel the countdown. It may start speeding up. It may think, shoes, backpack, water bottle, car. A neurodivergent brain may not feel 10 minutes. 10 minutes may feel like a vague concept floating somewhere in the air. Then suddenly it is time to leave, and everyone is panicked. This is why timers, visual clocks, countdowns, and transition warnings can help. A timer externalizes time. A visual clock makes time visible. A repeated routine helps the brain learn the sequence. Instead of saying, "Hurry up," try, "The timer is set for 5 minutes. When it rings, shoes go on." Instead of saying, "We are going to be late," try, "You have 3 steps left: teeth, shoes, backpack." Instead of arguing about time, make time visible. Time blindness is not a refusal to respect time. It is difficulty feeling time internally. That distinction changes how we intervene. One of the most frustrating things for neurotypical loved ones is watching a neurodivergent person focus intensely on something they enjoy and then struggle to focus on routine responsibilities. A child can play a video game for 2 hours but cannot spend 10 minutes cleaning their room. A spouse can research a hobby, organize a garage project, or work intensely on something interesting but forget to empty the dishwasher. A teen can memorize every statistic about a sport, every lyric to a song, every detail of a game, and still forget to bring home the math book. This can look like manipulation. It can look like you only focus when you want to. But ADHD is not a lack of attention. It is difficulty regulating attention. Attention often follows interest, urgency, novelty, competition, emotion, or reward. Hyperfocus is a state where attention locks intensely onto something stimulating or meaningful. During hyperfocus, the person may lose track of time, ignore hunger, miss transitions, and become irritated when interrupted. That is why asking a spouse to take out the trash while they are in the middle of a project may create a bigger reaction than expected. The request requires them to break attention, shift tasks, organize the new demand, and start something less rewarding. Again, this does not mean they get to opt out. It means the family needs transition supports. A 10-minute warning, a written task list, a scheduled household reset, a clear agreement before the hyperfocus begins. The goal is not to eliminate hyperfocus. Hyperfocus can be a strength. The goal is to build bridges out of it. When a neurotypical person says, "It is just one small request," they are often measuring the request by how simple it looks from the outside. But the neurodivergent brain may experience that small request as a cluster of hidden steps. Walk the dog may mean find shoes, find leash, get dog, check poop bags, open door, manage weather, walk the route, return home, wipe paws, hang leash, transition back. Do laundry may mean gather clothes, sort colors, choose cycle, measure detergent, start washer, remember to switch to dryer, clean lint trap, choose dryer setting, fold clothes, put away clothes. Make lunch may mean decide what to eat, find ingredients, open containers, assemble food, pack it safely, remember utensils, add water bottle, clean up. Get ready may mean wake up, get dressed, brush teeth, deodorant, hair, socks, shoes, backpack, water bottle, jacket, lunch, car. So when you break the task down, you are not insulting them. You are reducing the executive load. Executive load is the amount of mental effort required to plan, organize, remember, sequence, and complete a task. Neurodivergent people often need the executive load reduced before they can begin. This is why clean your room may fail, but put dirty clothes in the hamper may work. This is why help me with dinner may fail, but put napkins on the table may work. This is why get ready may fail, but brush teeth first may work. Smaller is not weaker. Smaller is more accessible. Support for a neurodivergent loved one does not mean doing everything for them. That is rescuing. And rescuing can accidentally teach helplessness. Support means scaffolding. Scaffolding is a temporary structure that helps a person build a skill until they can do more independently. In parenting, scaffolding might mean modeling a task, posting directions, creating a checklist, practicing together, then slowly stepping back. If your child keeps asking how to do laundry, do not keep answering from across the house. Put directions directly next to the washer. Place the detergent, stain spray, dryer sheets, and laundry basket in the same area. The system becomes the teacher. If your teen or spouse is learning to cook, teach a few basic meals and let them practice. Do not jump in because the first version is imperfect. The grilled cheese may be too dark. The eggs may be uneven. The pasta may be overcooked. That is not failure. That is learning. Competence comes from repetition, not rescue. If someone keeps losing keys, use an AirTag, a key hook, a bright keychain, or a tray by the door. That is not enabling. That is cognitive offloading. If sports gear keeps being forgotten, attach the checklist to the bag. Soccer, cleats, shin guards, socks, uniform, water bottle, swim, suit, goggles, cap, towel, hockey, skates, stick, helmet, gloves, mouthguard. Sailing, life jacket, gloves, hat, sunscreen, sail ties. The list carries the prompt, so you do not have to. That is how we create independence. Not by expecting the neurodivergent brain to magically become neurotypical, but by building systems that make responsibility visible. Your child, spouse, or loved one may not know how to say this, but if they could explain the inside of their experience, it might sound like this. I am not trying to make your life harder. Sometimes my brain feels like it will not start. I hear you, but I lose the steps. I know it looks obvious to you, but it does not always become obvious to me. When you remind me, I sometimes hear all the other times I failed. I need help breaking it down. I need fewer words when I am overwhelmed. I need the first step, not the whole staircase. I need movement before I can focus. I need the screen off before my brain gets hijacked. I need the expectation to be visible. I need you to believe I can learn, but I also need you to understand that learning may take longer. I need accountability without humiliation. That last sentence matters so much. Accountability without humiliation. That is the sweet spot. A neurodivergent person still needs responsibility. They still need expectations. They still need to participate in the family system. But shame shuts down learning. Structure supports learning. Now, I want to speak to the neurodivergent side with fairness, too. The neurotypical parent or spouse also needs to be seen. They may be exhausted. They may be tired of being the calendar, the checklist, the reminder system, the emotional regulator, the supply manager, the sports bag supervisor, and the person who notices everything. They may not want to ask again. They may not want to rescue again. They may not want to feel like the only adult in the system. So this episode is not saying the neurotypical person should just be more compassionate and continue carrying everything. No. Compassion without structure becomes enabling. Accountability without compassion becomes shame. We need both. The neurotypical loved one needs relief. The neurodivergent loved one needs support. The family needs systems. And the system needs to stop depending on one person's nervous system to hold the whole house together. If you are neurotypical and you love someone who is neurodivergent, I want you to pause before you label the behavior. Before you say lazy, ask, is this executive dysfunction? Before you say disrespectful, ask, is this dysregulation? Before you say careless, ask, is this working memory? Before you say dramatic, ask, is this nervous system overload? Before you say irresponsible, ask, what system is missing? And if you are neurodivergent, I want you to hear this too. Your brain may work differently, but you are still capable of growth. You may need more structure, more cues, more movement, more practice, and more external supports, but that does not make you weak. It makes you human, and the goal is not for you to become someone else. The goal is for you to learn the systems that allow your brain to succeed. For families, the path forward is not shame. It is structure. It is breaking things down. It is making expectations visible. It is using movement before demands. It is reducing screens that hijack the morning. It is creating checklists that build independence. It is using natural consequences without humiliation. It is helping the environment speak so the parent or partner does not have to carry every task out loud. Because when we understand the brain, behavior becomes less personal and more workable. The goal is not perfection. The goal is compassion with accountability. The goal is support without rescuing. The goal is responsibility without shame. The goal is a family system where every person has a path to participate. So if you are neurotypical and you love someone who is neurodivergent, I hope this episode helped you pause before labeling the behavior. Before you call it laziness, ask yourself, could this be executive dysfunction? Before you call it disrespect, ask yourself, could this be dysregulation? Before you call it irresponsibility, ask yourself, could this be working memory? Before you call it drama, ask yourself, could this nervous system be overwhelmed? And before you assume they do not care, ask yourself, what support, structure, or cue might help this brain participate more successfully? Because when we understand what is happening inside the neurodivergent brain, we stop taking every behavior so personally. We still hold expectations, we still teach responsibility, we still create accountability, but we do it with more accuracy, more compassion, and more strategy. The goal is not to excuse everything. The goal is to understand more clearly so we can respond more effectively. A neurodivergent child, spouse, or loved one may need smaller steps, more movement, visual cues, written directions, reminders outside the parent's voice, natural consequences without shame, and systems that make responsibility visible. And the neurotypical parent or partner also deserves support, relief, and shared responsibility. No one person should have to become the full-time calendar, checklist, alarm clock, emotional regulator, and rescue team for the whole family. Let this be your reminder. Compassion and accountability can live in the same home. Structure and warmth can work together. Understanding the brain does not lower the standard. It builds a better bridge to reach it. This episode is for educational purposes and to provide support. It's not a substitute for professional mental health evaluation, diagnosis, or treatment. The more we learn to recognize the signs behind the behaviors, the more compassion and support we can offer to our kids, our partners, and ourselves. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode was helpful, I'd love it if you shared it with a fellow parent, caregiver, partner, or educator who might need it too. You can also subscribe to stay up to date on future episodes and check out additional tools and resources at thepathtopeacetherapy.com. Follow me on Instagram at thepathtopeacetherapy. If you are in California, I offer virtual sessions if you are not in the Hermosa Beach or South Bay area. You can book online at The Path to Peace Therapy. And as always, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and remember, peace is possible, and you do not have to do this alone.